Welcome to Business Wise, the show that provides you with effective tools of management as developed by L. Ron Hubbard. Today's guest is Mike Staples, and we're going to hear all about the process of organization, how organizing is done effectively, and how you can better organize your operation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Business Wise. I'm Arte Maren, and our guest today is Mike Staples. Mike has built a fabulous business that mushroomed from 1 or 2 or 3 people, and he'll tell you all about it, into now 160 staff that he works with on a regular basis. And I want Mike to let you know all about how he built that business, how he applied the management technology of L. Ron Hubbard. So join me in welcoming Mike Staples.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Mike. And you know, I'm intrigued with the fact that your name is Mike Staples. Now you're in the construction business, particularly carpentry, and yet the idea of staples, so staples construction probably is a little weak from a marketing viewpoint, and I think you handled that by coming up with a different name. What was your view when you started that?
Well, when I started, it was 1977. I started with just a couple guys, okay?
Yeah.
There was a point along the way where I go, okay, I got to decide upon a name.
Mm-hmm.
Now keep in mind, in 1977, all this fancy nailing equipment, okay? So I do carpentry labor. That's my business, carpentry only.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays it's all this automatic air nailer equipment, okay? But at that time in 1977, it was just starting to come into the marketplace. And there was not a favorable viewpoint on it. It was like it had a ring of cheapness, or the stuff was stapled together, you see? So I knew I could not use my name in the business. So from there I did a business survey using the management technology from Hubbard, okay? Applied that survey technology and then came up with a name.
Excellent. So now the company name exudes a confidence and attracts people to that name, and that was done based upon the results of the survey.
Right. Basically, I want a name that had some punch to it, something that had integrity or punch, okay?
Right.
So I went to the library, I looked through the Declaration of Independence, and I picked out some names that had some oomph to them. So anyway, one of them, for instance, was like Hancock, okay? So I had all these names, and I put them together and mixed or matched them, and I came up with generally a name, okay? From there I did a survey technology on it, okay? And what you want to do is you want to figure out what your public is, okay? And for me, that was the upper middle class homeowner. So from there we surveyed him and asked him what's most needed and wanted, okay? And it's either one of 3 things is the most important. So it's either price, quality, or service. In my market, what came up was quality. So then he asked the question, so what do you associate with quality? And they said long lasting, okay? So that didn't help us with the name yet. So therefore we surveyed a little bit further, and what they associated with long lasting was family, okay? So in my area, in Minneapolis, the association was family. So from there I took, the names I mixed and matched, and then I added and sons to the end of it. Right. And the motto is where quality is a family tradition, okay?
Terrific.
So, and I sent out promo on that, and I got a lot of business off it.
Very nice.
Yep.
Okay, you're in a business now 27 years.
Yes.
You began, and I know in your business the mortality rate is huge. Guys fold up every day.
Right.
So you not only did not fold up, but you have grown exponentially. But yet you say you started with what, just yourself and 2 guys, or?
Actually, the first house I did was myself and 1 guy. No nailing equipment, I didn't have the money for it. I built it by hand. But the next house I bought a compressor and a nail gun, and actually 2 nail guns. Now I probably have 600-700 nail guns and a lot of other equipment.
Cool.
So
now when did you first run into Hubbard's material?
I started the business in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
In 1978, I realized there was a need to learn something more about administration. Now let me quote you something on one of the first things I've read, okay? He writes, the major failure of any group is to fail to organize.
Okay. This is from the Hubbard material.
From the Hubbard material, okay, right there, okay, and this is the first thing I read, okay. So here's what happened. I was out building houses, and I mean, basically when I started, you have a van, a few guys, you pull out, and you got some tools, and you go to work. So I was building homes for about a year, and I was sort of making it along, and you're getting by and stuff like that. And I built one house for a builder in a development, and that house went very well, and I made a lot of money on it. I go, God, this turned out good, okay. The next house I did for him, in the same development, different style home, but basically the same guy, same neighborhood, same development. I didn't make any money. And I come home. I mean, I've been working on the house for about a week, okay? I come home and I was a little bit bummed out and dispersed. And my wife had asked me, she says, you know, it's like, so what's your attention on? And I said, I didn't make any money on this house. And she says, how come? And I hesitated, I thought, and I did not have an answer for her. I did not have an answer.
So no concept of how you made money on the first one and didn't make money on the second.
Right, right. I could not answer her.
Right.
And I knew at that point, I better have an answer or I won't make it. Okay?
Well,
and you know, and I've heard, you know, businesses that, you know, they don't make it past the first year, or it's very difficult to make past the first year, and I would barely pass the first year. And I go, I better figure it out, okay? So I went and bought a set of management volumes, and the very first policy I read was on how to organize.
Right, these are the organization executive course materials that Hubbard had written.
Yes, yeah. So in fact, I still have the volumes today, okay? And so I, or at least that, you know, I bought revised versions of them, but anyway, I have the old one still, but I studied it, okay? So after work at night, I would go study, you see, and I'd read something and I'd go, oh my God, that's what I'm doing wrong.
I see. So there's a message here immediately, Mike, which is the entrepreneur needs to understand that it's not just something you're born with, meaning you've built this business, and soon we're going to get into the fact that you put in how much time per day on this business?
Oh, my earlier years, it wasn't uncommon to work 80 hours a week.
And now?
I'm down about an hour a day.
Okay, so an hour a day is something that my viewers are very interested in. Okay, we're going to get to that in the second half of the show. But as far as building the business, it's a matter of study, a matter of education, a matter of learning the tools of management, and not, you weren't just born with some extra management genes, right?
No, I tell you what, I made it out of high school. As soon as that door opened on graduation day, I go, I'm free, okay? I took off and I went, you know, I didn't do no more studying. I just went to work.
Right. So the Hubbard management materials is easy to learn.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not very well educated. I mean, just high school, my vocabulary wasn't very good. But, you know, certainly I had to look up the words to understand the material, and I made it through it, you know. It was sometimes difficult here or there, you know, especially getting the time in, enough time to study and put it to use. But, boy, I mean, it was just a matter of do it like anything else, put the time in.
Let me borrow this.
Sure.
We're going to make this available thanks to Mike Staples and his company. Anyone who wants a copy of Basic Organizing, as written by L. Ron Hubbard, with the tools of organizing in it, simply write to the station, let us know you want a free copy, and we'll see to it that you get it. You know, in the back of this book, Hubbard makes a comment and makes a point, and he says, "It is not man's dreams that fail him, it's the lack of know-how required to bring those dreams into actuality." What happened when you started utilizing these tools of management?
I got cocky, okay? I got pretty arrogant because I was good. Now, like I say, I would come home, you know, after work and I would study. Get in an hour or two at night and I would study, you know, the book, okay? And from there, I'd figure out, oh yeah, I'm not doing this right, I'm not doing that right. I'd go out to the, you know, and start working the next day, and I'd hold a little, you know, like get together with the guys before we start and say, no, look guys, this is what we're missing. This is what I'm doing wrong, okay? Now, from now on, you're the cut guy. You're the nailer. You're the guy that distributes
just organizing
material.
It better.
Right, right. And we kept every guy doing what he's supposed to be doing instead of everybody switching off, because that's where your collisions occur in an organization, you know. It's like you're bumping into each other, you know. One guy would put down a nail gun, and then and then you go pick up a saw, and the other guy would turn around and go, well, where's my saw? And you go, no, you just nail, you just cut. And that's what I got out of the first policy, you know, in there, which is, you know, how to organize.
Right, separating out the functions. It's been interesting in my career as a consultant. I've noticed that every now and then a client will say that they had personality clashes. And I never found a true personality clash. What I found is exactly what you just represented. Functions that are clashing.
Right.
Right? So what you've done is you've actually did an analysis of the business and said, well, here's how things are going to flow.
Right.
This is how we're going to get it organized.
Right. Right.
And then what happened from there? You started adding personnel. How'd you know who to hire?
Didn't. You just hired anybody that was available, okay? He says he was a carpenter, and you put him to work. And it wasn't too long before I realized that, you know, even though he says he's a carpenter, it wasn't the case. I learned early on the best I could come up with, the guy was about 80% there, and I had to take him the rest of the way. Now, that didn't occur right away because I wasn't particularly good myself. It took a few years to get good technically as a carpenter myself, okay? So, and then once I got good technically and figured out good systems and the procedures and whatnot to technically build, okay, then I tended to rise more to the top, and I switched out of the technical side into administration. See, the technical still, that's just the guy with the carpenter, you know, that he's got his level and his saw and nail gun, and they do the work, okay? But once you start putting a few guys on, you move out of the technical over into the administrative side.
Now, this is the area that's the downfall, too, isn't it?
That's right.
How many of your colleagues, how many other people in the business have come to you for a job who used to have a company with 4 staff?
Many.
And what do they say?
I said, how come you're coming to work for me? He says, well, I didn't do well in my company. He says, it was too much headaches, or it was too much trouble. I said, well, what were the troubles or the headaches? He says, well, couldn't manage the people. And you go, I knew right away what he's talking about, okay? He was missing the technology of administration. It's simple as that. The technology of administration is the management of groups, okay? The tools you use there is no longer hammers, levels, and saws, okay? It's a different technology, okay? In order to put that group together, to get them to flow smoothly, so each guy does his function without mistake, and his area goes from one guy into the next, and each one picks up seamlessly. That's where the money is made. The money is lost in guys bumping into each other, okay? They bump into each other because they're not trained. Now picture an organization where guys, now I'm a union contractor, okay? I pay a fixed fee. It's not a piecemeal or anything of the sort, okay? To the degree that I have those guys working and producing smoothly is where I make the money. And like pretty much any company, you could be on piecemeal, I suppose, and sort of struggle along, okay? But it's where they bump into each other. That's where the money is lost. It's the inefficiency where they're colliding, okay? They collide for one reason only. They're not trained. Actually, I should say 2 reasons. They're not trained, and an organization board showing who does what or functions in the organization is not posted, or it's not known to the people.
Okay, let's give the viewers an idea. When you talk about the organizing board, what you're referring to is the functions that are laid out across the sphere of organization.
Right.
Let's provide that. I think we have a picture of that here. We can see this is a larger organization, but it'll give us a good idea of how things can be organized. You actually went through this and were able to set up an organizing board where all the functions were known, everybody understood what they're supposed to do, and of course that led to what? Faster movement of activity within the organization?
Right. You have that for, let's say, an organization overall, and you can also have it, let's say, on a job site. Okay. Now picture, when I started, I did homes and, you know, just framing houses. Okay. Now I do large multifamily projects. I have 3 contracts, you know, in place right now, underway. Each of them are about 500 units each. These are big projects. You know, the contracts of them are $3.5, $4 million each. Okay. You know, quite honestly, in Minneapolis, can I brag a little?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Welcome to the show.
Out of those,
you're in the bragging chair. So, you know.
Out of those 3 projects, there was 2 of them. They did not get a competitive bid. Okay. The reason is there was nobody in Minneapolis large enough to do that project in that schedule. Okay. Right. I had one contractor 3 months before I was to bid it. He said, "Can you at least give me a fair price?" And I go, you know, because there was nobody that can compete in that scale.
See, but you're bringing up a very important point, which is I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners are afraid to grow. And they're afraid to grow because they don't have the tools. You know, Hubbard mentioned something that I'll never forget, and he talked about the fact that there's no such thing as over-expansion. And you look at that, you say, well, what do you mean there's no such thing as overexpansion? He said, no, no, no. There's only under-organization.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You see.
Right.
We're going to talk about how you manage to expand and how you're now sitting here in Florida putting in an hour a day while your company is busy producing these $4 million, $8 million projects on a regular basis.
Right.
We're going to do that right after we hear a word about Hubbard Management Technology. And again, let me remind our viewers, the basics of organizing available to you. Just write to the station. Let us know you want a copy of this booklet, the same one that Mike Staple uses, the information that he uses to build his company. And we'll be right back.
Break out your receipts. We're going to go through line by line.
You gotta take a look at these.
If you've ever had to deal with a badly organized business or office, you'll know how trying and frustrating that experience can be.
We're getting to the bottom of this.
Even if it takes all night.
The result of poor organization is confusion.
I thought you were going to do it. No, that's part of your own job. Why would I be doing it?
With too much work
My job.
and very little getting done.
I just want you to do your own job.
Lacking the know-how to organize properly, the person in charge often tries to do everything herself.
Honey, have you seen my keys?
There's someplace, sweetheart.
Mom,
yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
lost
be
my
late for the
invitation.
game. Did you pack me a snack?
Not yet, sweetheart. I'll be right
Regardless
here.
of how capable she is, she ends up becoming overwhelmed,
Honey, no, they're on the table.
while those who could be put to work have nothing to do.
On the table, honey, they're on the table. What was the street name
Honey, I
again?
can't find
They're
them.
on the table someplace.
Honey?
Close the refrigerator door, please.
Mom, I'm gonna be late for the game.
Honey, we'll be there. I just...
And trying to get a new business started without proper organization leads to a lot of extra effort and lowers your morale. But chaos and confusion are not natural conditions of life. How can we best organize ourselves and our lives? How do we manage our time, our activities, and those around us more effectively? How can we avoid distractions and overwork and help assure our success? Well, whether you're in charge of one project or an entire company, a busy family, or simply your own career, understanding the basics of organizing is the key factor in achieving your goals. We all recognize that if things were better organized, we'd get more accomplished.
Hey, man.
I've been here for 20 minutes. What's the problem?
Just looking for your receipt. My employee's getting...
That is not my shirt.
This one doesn't have a tag. I can't
Come on, it's back there. It's got to be back there.
This happens sometimes. It's going...
But most of us lack an understanding of the natural laws of organization.
Sir, is this your shirt right here?
That's not my shirt.
Looking for it. I'm looking for it. Move.
That's not my shirt either.
We're gonna find this eventually, okay?
You need some help.
You see, any activity is made up of a series of actions that take place in a certain sequence. Here's a simple example. This woman is a jewelry maker. Now, her first step in making a necklace should be to organize her beads. If she sorts her beads according to their color, she would find them much easier to work with. Once her materials are organized, she would string the beads into necklaces. But those finished necklaces aren't worth anything until they're sold, so her next step would be to package them. And finally, to take them to a local boutique and sell them to the store owner.
I have everything you ordered.
Perfect. Your necklaces are so popular.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
If we were to make a simple chart of the sequence of her actions, it might look like this: sorting, stringing, packaging, then selling. And in this example, the jewelry maker is the person in charge of all of the different actions, since she's the only employee in her company. As we've seen, this woman's product is jewelry.
I love the color.
By product, we mean something that is completed, that can be exchanged for another valuable, such as money. A product can be the thing that you're selling, or it could be a service you provide.
L200, how may I assist you?
A product can be exchanged with people outside of your organization,
There you go. Bye.
or it could be something you've completed that you put in the hands of someone within your organization.
I finished pricing out that project, so you can start ordering the materials.
Great, thanks.
Every position in an organization has a product, And all of the products from all of those positions should add up to a final product that can be exchanged.
All right, you have a wonderful day.
Therefore,
Bye-bye.
your first step in organizing anything is to determine what your final product will be. Once you know what your final product is, you simply have to work backwards, in sequence, to establish the earlier products, which all in a row add up to the final product. For example, what does it take to create this cupcake? Well, to begin, someone has to make sure the bakery has enough sugar and flour.
Flour tomorrow afternoon?
So the product of the purchaser's job is purchased and delivered ingredients.
Hey, I got 2 bags of sugar for you.
That's
and
great.
could you please sign right here?
Now, to make the cupcakes, the baker's assistant first prepares and measures the ingredients, and then mixes them together. So his product is cupcake batter, ready to be baked. The baker is then responsible for putting the cupcakes into the oven and taking them out when they're perfectly baked. The cupcakes then go to the decorator to be professionally decorated.
You mind if I try one?
Once done, it's the baker's job to make sure they meet the proper standard of quality.
What do you think?
It's good.
The final product is high-quality cupcakes that can be delivered to a place where they can be sold to happy, hungry customers. Now, knowing the exact steps and products you need to create your final product tells you how many different positions have to be filled. And as we've seen, a person can hold more than one position, as long as he or she knows what all his different positions are.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
But how can you make sure that each and every person involved understands what their product is, let alone what their position and status is within the structure of the organization?
755 over there, man.
Well, in Scientology, there's been an important breakthrough in the subject of organization. It's called the organizing board. It makes any activity, project, or group function more efficiently, and you're going to learn precisely how to create one, step by step. The organizing board enables you to see how things flow through an organization. It shows what functions are done, the order they are done in, and who is responsible for getting them done. Whether you're part of a large corporation or simply an individual with a dream,
Well, what do you think?
you can use this knowledge to expand your business,
Your customers are going to love it. Well, let's get them packed up and shipped out right away. Okay.
increase your productivity,
Mr. Collins. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you.
Thank you for your business, sir. Come again.
or simply organize any aspect of your life.
Dad, I fed the dogs. Can we go to the soccer game now?
Honey, we're going to soccer practice.
With these tools, any activity or group can not only become more efficient, it can be made to expand and flourish.
We're back with Mike Staples and the basics of organizing. I know, Mike, that I mentioned earlier how you were putting in 60, 80 hours a week, which
Right.
takes some hard work to build a business.
Right.
But the downfall and what you avoided, some might say miraculously, you'll probably tell us it was a little more, a little easier than that. But the downfall is that they put in 68 hours, and then they put in 68 hours, and then they put in 68 hours, and after a while, there's a burnout. And
Right.
so, you know what? I don't even have time to spend what I'm making. This is no fun. I have no time with my family. The heck with this. So what happened? What was the turning point, and how, the big question, how did you manage to be able to keep this thing running at an hour a day?
I learn more. It's simply a matter of knowledge, Artie, okay? So early on, I didn't know so much, so I had to work hard to make up for it, okay? Basically, there's a concept in another place in the management technology, a concept of cope and organize, okay? It's like a pendulum that swings either way.
Cope, as in, you know, cope is just getting it done on a daily basis, and organizing is that separate activity you do in order to get it done.
Right, cope is like handle it however you got to handle, but get it done,
all right.
okay? Organize is like it flows smoothly, okay? So it's okay to cope when you're starting out, because it's got to get done, okay?
Right.
So you manage, you just did it somehow.
Right.
But the problem is, you stay on cope, you're going to get worn out. It becomes an overwhelm. To continue to cope is nothing but an overwhelm. So anyway, you have to introduce some organizational steps along the way and phase yourself out of cope into an organized state.
Okay. So what's the first thing that, you know, you've got millions of viewers out there who want to know, okay, fine, I got it. I can't keep putting out fires and working that every day. I want to organize. What do I need to do first?
Train your people. Okay?
Okay, and how do I do that?
All right. First, in order to train them, you got to train them on something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're training them on is company policy. Okay?
Okay.
Company policy is nothing more than the successful actions that have proven themselves successful through time.
Okay, so you're saying now we've got an owner, and you're saying, Joe, Alice, you got to sit down and lay out and write out everything that has worked for you.
Right.
And make that into the law of your business.
Right. Now let's start with this concept, okay? In order for him to be the owner, why is he the owner? Because he was the best technically, and he rose to the top, like cream rises to the top, right? Okay. So he was, let's say in my case, I was a good carpenter. Then from there, as I became more aware, alert to the environment, I got better, okay? I started to be able to handle more people underneath me. So generally, I learned stuff, I rose to the top, I could manage a few more people, okay? And that was fine. I could manage a personal sphere of influence of 5 to 10 guys just by being there, and it all went well. But then you plateau out, you can't go any further. The only way you're going to go further is now you're going to start training some people underneath you, okay? So in my case, 2 carpenter crews, okay? 5 on this job, 5 on that job. Okay? So it's like I needed a foreman on each one. I was no longer there personally handling it all. So now you got to train somebody. Well, what are you going to train them on? What it is I knew. And that's the problem. You can never get out of that company unless you take the knowledge that's in your head, you get it down in written form, you then get somebody training people on that policy, and now you can extract yourself out of the business.
Okay, well that makes sense. And of course it reminds me of, maybe you could share with the audience the Hubbard concept of KRC, or knowledge, responsibility, and control. You're saying first is that knowledge factor. You've got to put down everything you know. Now that's on the technical side, but you yourself said that you didn't know that much about the management.
Right.
So I'm assuming obviously then you would recommend that they get familiar with Hubbard management technology.
Right.
I don't mean to lead you into this, but it is the only, and I've been doing this for 30 years, the only effective, productive, organized technology that allows someone to grow a business.
Right. Artie, it simply gets down to this. A guy doesn't have the knowledge. If he's not succeeding well, he's missing some knowledge somewhere. I mean, try and do a root canal without knowing what you're doing. It's going to fail. Okay, or simply driving a car, trying to build a house and the thing falls down.
So that's probably a lot of good news to people, Mike, because I think viewers out there, some of them who are business owners, feel like they're not making it because there's something wrong with them, you know? Self-invalidation.
Right.
You know, you're saying, look, here's a guy who made it through high school, okay, Mike Staples, made it through high school, didn't go and earn an MBA and a PhD and I often like to say that, the guy's got an MBA, a PhD, but he's got no JOB.
Right.
You made it go right by building it, but you found that there was a certain point, a ceiling that you hit, which you could only go so far intuitively.
Right.
And then it took connecting up to Hubbard management technology, putting in a study activity, as you did every night.
Right.
Reading the materials and studying it. And again, I want to be of help to our viewers and remind you again that you can get a copy of the booklet that Mike Staples mentioned, Basics of Organizing, just by contacting the station, letting us know that you want a copy of this book, and we will make sure that you get it. And of course, this is complimentary to all our viewers. At this point, you're doing an hour a day. How do you do that? How do you, I mean, there are people who doing 60 hours a day, 60 hours a week, right on the site. How are you managing to get that done at a distance?
I have a reports line. Obviously, email is very helpful. Okay. Basically, I got weekly reports that come to me as far as certain statistics, job performances, financial statements, various this or that. Okay.
But so you can depend upon these reports as being accurate. But I'm just realizing now that what you said before, you've put training to these people so that they're stable.
Right.
So that you can rely on them.
Right.
And not have to be there.
Let me give you a concept.
Yeah.
Okay. Been around 24 years, right? Okay. I have probably 20 foremans that work for me. Okay. My average employment career with those foremen is in the 12-year range, average.
Wow.
Okay, I have
impressive.
guys that have been with me 18, 20 years. Okay, so they become long-term employees. They're trained. I have transferred my knowledge over to them. But it was a job.
Right.
I'm not going to kid
Well,
you.
it also takes training. You mentioned it. I want to repeat the word. We know from a Hubbard view that training equals stability.
Right.
And again, I want to mention the booklet, and I also want to mention what Hubbard said. If one would dream and see his dreams in actuality, one must also be able to organize. Now, this is important and an important subject. I want to thank you for coming on the show, sharing these concepts with you. And again, I want to invite the audience to contact us, let us know how we can help you and what we can do for you in the future. Thank you for watching. This is Business Wise. I'm Arte Maren, your host. Looking forward to seeing you again next show.